Welcome everyone this evening for our final master class on new ideas for your clubs. We have a special guest speaker this evening. John Passamont should have been a Toastmaster for over 2 decades by now, had he submitted his membership application the first time he was invited to join, attended, and participated in the late 1990s. But life took a different path and route in 2000. He migrated to the United States for work. It was in 2014 when he decided to finally join Toastmasters and walked into a club in Sacramento, California, the River City Toastmasters Club, which he later on became its president. Tonight, John will share unique experiences and practices from his 2 clubs. Fellow Toastmasters, friends, and guests, please welcome John Passamont, Tale of 2 Clubs, and what's unique about them. Please help me welcome John Passamont.
Fellow Toastmasters, fans, and guests. How are you guys today? How's that? In one of my clubs, that's how we open our meetings. We call it the musiquero or the musician. It's either the musiquero or the makata, as we call it, or the poet. So the Sigma Kappa Pi Sigma Delta Pi Toastmasters Club has that in our roles, in our agenda. That is how we usually open it. So when Beth emailed me, if I would speak in a special event series in District 9 and talk about unique ideas for club meetings, of course, I immediately said yes, and I'd love to, and I'm honored. I think what made her reach out to me is that one event we had that stood out to her, our table topics battle. Is that it, Beth? I think that's the one, right? This one, as you see in my screen. That's what caught her eye. Today, I would like to start with a framework that I think could be useful in putting the uniqueness part in context. As I would argue, just because it's unique, it doesn't mean it's the right or best thing to do. So I will share my experiences with the 2 clubs I belong to, which I think they both bring some sense of uniqueness, with a caveat that while there may be absolute uniqueness in some of our activities or events or how we conduct our meetings, in some of the examples, I'm sure there are some similarities to others, or maybe your clubs. But I would like to think that some of them are quite unique. So I'll then revisit our framework and then see how the examples fare as far as the framework is concerned. Then after my presentation, we will have an open forum and Q&A, if you will. So let me proceed with this. So I call it the tale of 2 clubs. In business school, I've learned this framework in strategic brand marketing. And I thought it made sense what worked and what the challenges were. And I reflected on both of my clubs, and I see this framework in play, the dynamics of it. Let me see. Can you see my screen? All right. So as you can see in that triangle, on the top tip are our members or potential members or other members, Toastmasters or non-Toastmasters. Let's say they are our target audience, right? And then on the lower left of the screen, that would be your club. And then on the other side would be probably other clubs or other organizations, Rotary, Lions Club, or whatever organization there are in your community. In this framework, Professor Batra, I remember him, explained this framework. It's called the drum framework. Drum because you talk about differentiating yourself, you talk about being relevant, you talk about being unique, you talk about being motivational. So as you can see, the arrows pointing to our members or potential members, we're trying to strive for relevance. Relevance. It may be unique, but if it's irrelevant to them, what would it matter, right? So you may throw in a nice classical music, but they probably don't like it. They probably find it irrelevant, or it's not motivating for them. And then on the bottom side, how are you unique or differentiating yourself from other clubs or other organizations? I don't know about your district, but when I walked in River City Toastmasters Club, I used to find the club. You would think that nobody uses it, but I was one of those who went to the Toastmasters website and tried to find the club. And lo and behold, in a 5-mile radius, there's probably tons of clubs, right? In fact, River City Toastmasters is in City Hall, Sacramento City Hall, and the next building, which is EPA, there are 5 clubs in just that building next to us. Then within a walking distance, you'll see other clubs as well. So basically, you're saying there's a gray box on top of the.
It's off. It takes up about half the screen. It's like a
Ooh.
gray.
Let me click on it again. Maybe it was a glitch in the. You see it now?
Yeah, it's mostly, it's coming back. It's like it's eating the screen. Or
Huh. Okay. But do you see the triangle and then it
yes,
says
I can see
member?
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So when people are busy, especially if your target members are professionals, right? There's a lot to give up to be part of a club, even if it's just an hour meeting or 2-hour meeting. Just to go to your meeting, especially in person, you have to either drive or walk. In City Hall, your target market is basically within the 2-mile radius because they wouldn't trade their lunch for an hour of meeting. Uh, Sometimes they would even bring their food. So it better be worth their while to come in. In Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, our meetings are odd hours. We meet 6 a.m. Pacific Northwest or West Coast, or 9 p.m. because we have to accommodate time zones because we're a global club. So basically, people come in at 6 a.m. in the morning from the West Coast. That means you're doing something right. Or Europe is joining you early in the morning when West Coast is 9 p.m. Then you're probably doing something right because it's making them get up in the morning or stay up late just to be with you, right? So it's something relevant, something motivational, and then you're unique and different. And unique and different is, even though your club is so awesome, it might not be for others. you're also trying to find the right fit. So this is the framework I want you to remember, and we'll go back to it as I go along. So here I have a tale of two clubs. And you can see the disparity. One is 32 years old, the other 2 years old. The other one is small, but seasoned Toastmasters. It used to be a 2 dozen, but after the pandemic, it was cut in half, so a dozen. But high
Excuse me,
caliber.
John.
Yes, David.
Half of your screen is gray.
Is it because of this one? Do you see it now?
That got better, but it's still
Okay.
happening, but it's less.
Okay.
They're showing up as big checkered, like gray blocks. I don't know how else to put it.
Okay. So
It's distracting from your presentation, but I think I can see what you're trying to communicate.
gotcha. So let me take out the panel. Maybe it's the panel that's distracting it. I think it's when I blow up the panel so that I can see you guys. You see it now?
It's a little bit better, but it's still doing it.
Huh.
It's
All right.
improving.
Okay. So let's just say the first club is 32 years old. The other one is 2 years old. The other one is small, but its members are seasoned, while the other one is large, but basically majority are newbies. So I call the other one an upstart, while the other one is a startup. The River City Toastmasters has this mantra that I think changed the dynamics of how we conducted meetings. Ever since we did this club success plan, I'm sure you've done tons of club success plan. When we decided that what we wanted to capture is a fun and structured meeting, from then on, whatever meeting we prepare, it's geared towards that. It's not a perfect meeting, but it will flow. It will flow as if there was nothing wrong, there was no mistakes, there was no flaws. Hi, Luis. Nice to see familiar face. So basically, when you go there, that's what we strive for. And everybody, especially the executive committee, are well aware that they imbibe that mantra, that we strive to be fun and structured. While in the other club, the Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, because it's originally restricted to alumni members of our fraternity and sorority from the University of the Philippines, we strove for better communicators, better leaders. Because we were former student leaders during our time, now we're striving, whether it's in the workplace, the community, or elected office, we wanted to have a platform to be better communicators and better leaders. So that's what we're trying to capture there. So in both clubs, I would say we have top-notch quality meetings, and I'll share why. And I describe them as perfectly imperfect, because there's no perfect meetings, right? But I describe them as perfectly imperfect. Like, for example, if Alan here is the general evaluator and made a mistake, we pick it up and move on. Or if Karen was supposed to be the grammarian, all of a sudden she's not there, somebody steps up, and then we make it flow. So we don't get bogged down by, oh, Luis was supposed to be here, and now we don't have a so-and-so. No, we push on, we move through. And I think these perfectly imperfect meetings create quality meetings. Now, River City Toastmasters, I would say, have unique events that drew people in, while Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi has a unique way of conducting meetings that draws people in as well. And I'll share them with you. So for the first club, River City Toastmasters Club, and I'm sure Luis remembers this, there was one that we created that we called open mic. Open mic nights. I think it was 2017, and I tried to find, hopefully the images will show. Let me know if they show, okay? So here, open mic. This was the first open mic that we conducted in November 17, 2017. Open mic table topics night. In fact, we called it happy hour, open mic table topics night. And it's outside of our usual lunch hour. And then we opened it up to all Toastmasters Club in our district. We opened it all to prospective members. We opened it all to non-Toastmasters. So it was in a bar, it was in a restaurant, or it was in somewhere that has happy hour. So the idea is we will have a fun night, table topics night, like an open mic. Instead of poems, instead of songs, we'll have table topics. And then we have a different structure. It's not a votation of simply, oh, who's the best table topic speaker? We had a more sophisticated, let me show you if I can pick up here. We have a sophisticated way. Can you see my spreadsheet? Everyone, can you see the spreadsheet?
Well, those boxes are back. Well, then now they've kind of diminished a little bit.
Okay,
There you go.
so here is how we did the tally sheet and the voting of an open mic table topics night is you give 1 point to a speaker if you like it, 2 points if you love it, 3 points if you really, really love it. So basically they get tallied in this spreadsheet, and then that's how you know who won first, second, and third. So basically it's not your typical votation of we're 9 here or 10 here, so we just vote so and so. We have a different type of votation. So this open mic night opened a lot of opportunities, not only for our club, but also for other clubs and the district. Why? One, we got to meet other Toastmasters from other clubs and had fun and drank the whole night with happy hour. And we were able to bring colleagues, friends who are non-Toastmasters, and they got to see how we were having fun. Eventually, we were able to recruit members from our open mic nights in the same way as other clubs were able to do so. So much so that eventually other clubs partnered with us. That's why I had that spreadsheet. We created that packet. Like, for example, if Beth wanted to do it in Region 1 or in ABC Club, we just give that spreadsheet, and that's everything you wanted to know and do to create your open mic night. Something like that. And then eventually, our area did it so that it can consolidate other clubs. So it's like a win-win for our club, for other clubs, and for prospective members. So I think open mic night is one of those that we miss because when the pandemic hit, we weren't able to do it anymore. Unlike our other event, which Beth saw through our posters, is the table topics battle. At first, we called it March Madness because it was March, right? We did the bracket system. So you can imagine 16 people battling it out until there's one last Toastmaster standing. So it's a bracket system. You have 16 participants. But we reached out to NCAA, and they said, oh, we cannot use the March Madness. So we took out March Madness. So we called it just the annual table topics battle because we didn't want to be sued. So, but we asked permission, but they didn't grant us. So we dropped the March Madness, but it became table topics battle, which I would say is one of our biggest draw in bringing in people to our club. Because it's fun, people like that kind of competition, and a knockout system. Imagine all of us, if there's 16 of us, Luis and Beth hits it off. They have the same topic, but Luis doesn't know the topic until Beth is done. So basically, during the in-person days, Luis will be escorted by the sergeant at arms to be out of the room. But we were able to continue table topics battle on Zoom because we have breakout rooms. So Luis will be placed in the breakout room, and then they will battle it out. And then after that, after the votation is done, if Luis won, she will face the other ones from the other bracket. Um, I had all the visuals, but we're having problem with the visuals. But you get the idea. So it's a knockout system until the championship. It's between David and Deborah. If they battle it out, if Deborah wins, then she's declared the last Toastmaster standing. So you can just imagine, because you know what table topics is, and you know what a knockout system is. It's fun, it's nerve-wracking, and it's competitive in a friendly way. Because the topics are not easy. We throw in word of the day, and in fact, through the years, it went to the point that all the words of the day are to be inserted by the competitors in the championship or in the final round. So it becomes fun, competitive, so on and so forth. And then it builds camaraderie too. So those are I think, two events that went on through the years, except for open mic because of the pandemic. But table topics we were able to convert into an online platform. So those are what I think what special events do. And in Zoom, you'll be surprised when you download the data of your attendance, you will see a sudden spike of the attendance. And when you look back, oh, that was our table topics battle. Because your normal attendance, for example, is a dozen or 2 dozen, then all of a sudden you have 40. It's because you have an enticing special event. So special events, I would say, are crowd drawing. It's a matter of how do you attract non-Toastmasters as well. But I think the formula is it's always nice to have fellow Toastmasters because the more warm bodies you have, the more fun you have, and the room is just filled with inspiration. And if you're a non-Toastmaster, then you will feel that energy and you will feel how the camaraderie is. So even if you're striving for potential members, do not discount fellow Toastmasters to join in. The same way, do not just stop with Toastmasters. You have to invite non-Toastmasters, right? Because there's no sense if we just preach to our own choir, right? But having said that, River City has benefited, or even Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, benefited from dual membership because they love what we do and they join, right? So we've done other special events like workshops, which are, I think, very useful, especially to our members. We've done workshops about addressing filler words. We've done workshops about body language, and then we would have a guest speaker, or we would have videos curated by the Toastmaster. I think we even have debates. I think what spurred this new ideas is in River City Toastmaster, before I chartered Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, we had a rule. If you're the TM, you choose the theme, you choose the format, as long as we meet the goals of our club. So if Kathy, for example, was assigned Toastmaster and she wants to talk about the environment and wants to bring in a guest speaker and have an open forum, it's up to her. As long as she is able to accommodate, for example, if David will be speaking, how does she mesh it with her theme? How will she mesh it with her format? So on and so forth. So from time to time, I think River City Toastmasters would come up with these brilliant ideas because you have a good group of people who are seasoned. But sometimes the downside of that is you become complacent, you become lenient, and you just focus on being awesome, and then you forget to convert. You have a room full of non-Toastmasters, and you forget to convert them to becoming members, right? So I think that's the case for C, River City Toastmasters. So in fact, we have this during our meetings. We either wear this as a Zoom background and this as our Zoom background. But uh, admittedly, I took this idea from Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, because every meeting in Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, we had fun Zoom backgrounds uh, that is catered to our meeting. Let me share to you uh, what's the difference or uniqueness of Sigma Kappa Pi and Sigma Delta Pi. So Sigma Kappa Pi and Sigma Delta Pi, uh, when we invite, I think we branded our meetings as Ekit Edit Toastmasters Live, because Sigma Kappa Pi and Delta Pi have nicknames back in the university days. Sigma Kappa Pi is Ekit because when you read the Greek letters, it's EK, and then you split the pi, it's IT. So in campus, we're known as Ekit, and then the CSS are called Edit. So we branded our program as Ekit Edit Live. It's just like Saturday Night Live, right? So from around the world, welcome to Ekit Edit Toastmasters Live. The uniqueness of our program, one, we had that musicero, and from time to time, if the musicero is not available, we have the Makata. Makata is a poet. So we start the meeting with a poem. Like, for example, if, how do you pronounce your name? Silky? Silky. Okay. So if she's assigned as a Makata, based on the theme, she will choose a poem that she wants to read to us. And then that would be part or start of our program. If Luis is a pianist or guitarist, maybe sometimes she will volunteer to be the musicero or the musician. So that's how we start our meetings, which I think is when we have visitors, they will just like, I was looking at your faces a while ago. What's going on? But you like the music, you like the what's going on, but you can't explain it because you're used to welcome fellow Toastmasters. We're at our so and so meeting, blah blah blah. But us, we decided we wanted everybody to relax, open it up with music or poem, just like we like to open it with humor sometimes, right? So another uniqueness that we have in Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi is we do this. When the president opens it, we do the welcome around the room, around the globe. Because we're a global club, then we go so that all of us are seeing everybody in sequence, because the sequence in my computer is different from yours, right? So we would call out Kathy. Hey, Kathy, where are you tuning in from? Or if I know her, then I'll say, oh, she's tuning on from Switzerland or Geneva. And then we have Karen from so-and-so, and then Beth from so-and-so. And then if Alan, it's his first time, then you'll, hey, Alan, welcome. Would you like to say hi and tell us where you're from? And so it's basically our introduction. But we do this, we call it welcome around the globe, around the room. So we go around the room, even if it's 30, we'll go around the room and get to know. If there's 30, then I just say, hey, Karen is from Florida, Beth is from Oregon. Um, but then Silky is new. Say, Silky, say hi. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. So on and so forth. So that's how we open up our meetings. And then part of the president's bill, we have what we call shout out. Shout out. Shout out is where we acknowledge, recognize not only your Toastmasters or our members' Toastmasters achievement, but sometimes it's just little things. It's Karen's birthday. We greet her in the shout out. Silky just did what do you call this? She was invited to a convention and she spoke there, and we will highlight that. Or Beth was just awarded Employee of the Month. We will recognize that. Or we found out Luis is going through medical issues. And of course, if it's anonymous, then it's anonymous. Then we'll ask for thoughts and prayers for Luis. So it's part of our shout out. Or we saw in pictures that Bruce and Deborah met up in Washington. And then we'll post that pictures as part of our shout out. So that's one of the unique ways of how we conduct our meetings in EdIt. But I think one of the things I like about it is that when we do themes, our meetings are really thematic. So for example, if we choose the theme of environment, or the most recent one was Valentine's, right? To us, we do it all the time, our clubs, right? But in EdIt, if the theme is about love, everybody will be asking the theme so that they can focus their project, speech project towards that. So from start to finish, as if you have a full circle, because your meeting is about love. Let me see if I can show you. Hopefully you see a glimpse of it, okay? Because I know our thing is acting up, our visual, but let me see here. Yep, it's acting up. Okay, so for example, during our last meeting, our theme was love stories. So the Toastmaster chose love stories. Guess what? We invited a guest speaker who was an MFT, uh, marriage and family therapist. She's a dear friend of some of us. And she was our guest speaker. But before our guest speaker, our first two speakers spoke about their love lives in a different twist. Like the one from Canada talked about built for the long haul. So his speech was about how the relationships was built for the long haul because of the challenges of migrating to Canada, something like that. And then the other speaker, Joni, spoke about dear soulmate, is this my destiny? So it measures up with the theme. And then we get our guest speaker talking about, because she's a subject matter expert. We did this pretty much most of the time, that the speakers are subject matter experts. We started doing this because when we chartered, we were 32, 30 were non-Toastmasters. So we wanted to always have a guest speaker. So if we have 3 speakers from our members, we will have 1 guest speaker. So for example, if David is an expert on the environment and our theme is about the environment, Beth, Alan, and Silky will talk about whatever they want to talk about in line with the theme. But David will be our subject matter expert. So he'll be our guest speaker. And guess what? This guest speaker idea, I'm sure all of you have done it, but we purposely also target potential members to be our guest speakers. And maybe 40% of the time they join. So for example, if Luis was an alumni that we know and respected, we invite her to talk about a topic based on our theme. And Luis, after a few meetings, she'll keep coming back and then, hey, Luis, would you like to be a member? You know, because she's been part of the process, you know. To us, I know in the old days, some seasoned Toastmasters are a bit of a snob. If you're not a member, you cannot speak, something like that, right? But in EdIt or Sigma Kappa Pi, Sigma Delta Pi, we invite respected alumni, because if David is a respected alumni, he has a clout. So that opens up potential members for us. So when they know David is speaking, our other alumni brads or CSES will be attending because they know David, right? So that's one of the secrets of getting what you call guest speakers, because they can be your key to potential members as well. We also do Q&A a different way, or table topics in a different way. And I see that this will be my last input so that we can have a Q&A. Speaking of Q&A. So, for example, David is our guest speaker. We didn't want to waste the time because he's an expert of the subject matter, we'll convert table topics into a Q&A. But how do we measure? So for example, if Luis wants to ask a question to David, we ask the participant to at least give a minute of feedback on what she heard from the speaker, and then she earns the right to ask the speaker a question. That's how we formatted our Q&A. So it's like a table topics. So Karen, uh, what resonated with you with David's speech? And we'll give you a minimum of 1 minute. And then after that, you get to ask question from David. And then David will have 1 to 2 minutes to respond. And then we go to the next. We go to the next. So that's our table topics Q&A format in EquitDev. I'm now open for questions.
All right, please. Don't hold back.
I'm taking notes. I'm over here typing and taking notes and things. Do you have the bracket that you can just share a quick picture so everybody kind of gets an idea of what you're talking about?
Hopefully it will show. And I'll give the link to my presentation since it didn't appear correctly for some reason. I have the link. It's in Prezi, so you can browse through it. So let me open the bracket that you're talking about. So
yeah, just so people can get an idea.
Yeah. In fact, Luis was one of the competitors there. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So we have the round of 16. You have the quarter 8, and then we have the semifinals, and then the championship until there's one last Toastmaster standing.
It was challenging.
And you did this like for wasn't it like for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Well, on the second year, what we did was the first one is just an internal club table topics battle. So for example, it's just us, right? So if Karen won and Deborah is the second, they will be challenged by the other clubs who will be joining the table topics
that's right.
battle.
Yeah, that's right.
So that would be the second and third. But because we don't really have much time, unlike during the in-person meetings before, we do it after work hours. So we will be in the auditorium, so we could have an extended time. But since we're just doing 1 hour, we split it up. So for example, the semifinals and the finals would be on another hour. So Karen and Deborah would be challenged by other clubs. So probably Kathy, Alan, Silky, and David and Luis are from other clubs. So they will be facing them. And then eventually, whoever wins in that bracket will be declared as the last Toastmaster standing.
Yeah, that was fun. And you just kept it moving. It just, round after round after, it just kept moving. So that was cool.
Excellent. Silky had a question next, I believe.
Sorry, I'd answered my question. Thank you, though.
All right. Anyone else? A lot of information.
I will say the key to the effectiveness of both EquitEdit and River City is that they've got dynamite people being the host or the MC. And it takes a particular talent to be able to pick up and just draw people in. And that's what really makes it work so well. I've been to several meetings of River City and always come away entertained, delighted with my time spent there. But I can't join because I'm in too many.
Okay.
Oh,
do you pair off 2 competitors for table topics each day?
For that table topics battle, what we did is the round of 16 and quarter is in one meeting, and then the semifinals and the finals is in another meeting. So that's how we broke it down. Before, when we just had 1 hour, the round of 16 is just 1 minute, and then the quarter, semi, and semifinals is 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay. So the table topics then would be one person versus another person, and just has a
Correct.
whole lot of that.
Correct.
All right.
I'll show you, hopefully you'll see a glimpse of it. I know it's not ideal, but here's how the board looks like. And these are all topics that you see from 1 to 25. And then the words of the day, those are the boxes that you choose from for what word of the day you would use.
Super polished.
That is,
That's fun.
that's fascinating.
It was a
And
lot of
I
fun.
think it would be fun to be a district level, fun competition. And then it would be clubs against club, I know it's not sanctioned by TI, but it's a fun camaraderie building among clubs.
It could be. Anything else? Any further questions?
Well,
would you consider if time was permitting a Swiss style tournament?
what is
What?
that?
Sorry?
A Swiss style tournament.
I don't know what
I-
that is. What is that?
Can you give us an idea?
Well, that's where every round you're paired off with someone who has a similar record.
Okay. Well, one, I would say that would take more preparation, because you have to know, just like in a pickleball or tennis tournament, you have to know the ratings of people, or if because in the tabletop is battle, what we did is,
Mhm.
oh, now I see what you mean. What we did in the internal club is we paired off seasoned with newbies.
Okay.
So yes, seasoned with newbies, so that it cancels out, washes out. Like if Karen is a new Toastmaster and Luis is veteran or seasoned, they're paired up, so that it's like an upset if Karen wins and then goes through the brackets. But then in the open, we did an open draw, because we cannot do that, because I probably don't know 90% of the people, if Deborah is seasoned or new, and that will take a lot of preparation. So what we did is we have a random name generator to team up everybody. So it's not arbitrary, but it's computer generated. So I have nothing to do with the pairing. So you will see David is against Beth because the random generator did it.
Okay.
That's interesting. I'll throw something out that I think is a fun idea. I didn't do this in a Toastmasters club, but it is a format that we could always incorporate for a fun meeting. And I don't remember, I've heard it called, well, I don't even remember I want to say Pikachu or something, but I've heard it called different things. But it's where, for instance, you have 20 slides, 5 minutes, but 20 slides that advance automatically every 15 seconds. And you give a 5-minute speech. And that's hard. And I did that on stage at Elevate Daytona just because I wanted to challenge myself. I've never done that. And it's harder than you think, because you're up there and there's no timer. You don't see what's coming up next. Another thing that I did with my National Speakers Association meeting one time, we had a member who was really good at he was like a comic specialist. And I would do like just random slides, several of them in a row. And again, they would like automatically advance every, 10, 15 seconds. And he had to do a comedy routine to every slide, and it would change, and he'd have to start over and do another comedy routine. So if you have somebody who's really talented with that and quick, that's another. I think that's kind of fun.
We were supposed to have a meeting, officers meeting today, but since not everybody was available, I was I was trying to propose these events that I think could be ideas for you as well. Like, for example, instead of social distancing, I called it what did I call it? Oh, from social distancing to social connecting and interacting, something like that. Events that would capture that, because I was a proponent that, when you look at the data that Toastmasters has been attracting, majority are within the professional groups, employed groups. But then during the pandemic, there's a lot of seniors that were isolated and learned to be online, and maybe they could connect through, meet people, uh, do storytelling. I think it's an untapped market, the seniors. When you see 55 plus communities popping here and there, that tells you that there's a huge market for that. And these are the active lifestyle, early retired or probably about to retire. Um, so that's one, from social distancing to social connecting and interacting. So, and then I was thinking, just a day of pure laughter could be like the last comic standing that you see on TV, or maybe a meet and mingle. You don't have to be single event, something like this. But I think whatever special event you come up with, uh, you will be able to attract uh, not only our fellow Toastmasters, but non-Toastmasters. For as long as if you're trying to make it relevant um, and motivational, and then it will differentiate you from Lions Club, Rotary Club, or other clubs if you want to stand out within a 5-mile radius. That framework, I think, helped me a lot. Helped me a lot in understanding why these events are working compared to others.
Good deal. All right. Ms.
Yes,
Carey?
Louise.
Oh, Louise.
I used to belong to a club called Aesop Fabulers, and essentially we were storytellers. I found story cubes, and we took the 7 cubes and did it just as table topics, but it was interesting because everyone was so excited doing it that they decided to do the whole meeting with that. Everyone had a chance, and it's 5 to 7 cubes, and they have pictures on each one. And as you roll it, then you have to tell a story based on all those cubes. This worked so well that I even used it with my Girl Scout group and my grandchildren. And surprisingly, any age loves to do it. But it was just a fun type thing that just kind of blossomed out to more.
That made me think of a table topics I did a couple times. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I hadn't thought about this in ages, haven't done this in years. But I'd have like a bag that had pieces of paper that had modes of transportation: helicopter, boat, train, camel. I mean, do some crazy ones in there. And then another box had dollar amounts. And then we had the word of the day. So the table topic had to incorporate whatever you picked out of both bags and the word of the day. So that's hard. That was 3 components that you had to put into a story within. So that was a challenging one.
We did a murder mystery one time, and it was all events that would happen in our city. Like a spaceship came down and landed in Sacramento, and we interviewed different people. And the murder mystery, we were on a cruise ship. But it was just little things to make it exciting. And if I'd known how well it was going to go over, probably would have repeated it several times.
Yeah. Well, one meeting we had, I don't know, probably 15, 16, 17 people, and no one had a speech. And the person who had signed up didn't show up or whatever. And it was around Halloween. So we did the continual story. We started with one person and they had to start the story. And they had a lot of fun. They loved that. And it just kept going through all the people. Some of them got it. Most of them got how you did it. A couple people, it's like, no, you're not starting a new story. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to cut us off here and I will stop the recording. A special thank you to John Passamont for taking time this evening to join us and share his presentation and ideas with us. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your different ideas. And I look forward to hearing more from everyone at a later date.